He protected a lost child from the hurricane. That night, 400 warriors knocked on his door. Witness this unbelievable, true inspired story right here on Whisper of the Past. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share where you're watching from. Let's get started. What would you do if you saved a child's life, only to have hundreds of armed warriors appear at your door in the dead of night? Would you run? Would you fight? Or would you stand there frozen as the impossible unfolds before your eyes? This is the true story of Marcus Chen, a humble fisherman whose single act of compassion triggered a chain of events so extraordinary, so unbelievable, that even he struggles to explain what happened that fateful September night in 2019. Our story begins in the small coastal town of Seabrook, North Carolina, as Hurricane Dorian bore down on the Atlantic coast with devastating fury. The sky had turned an ominous shade of gray-green, and the wind howled like a living thing, bending palm trees nearly horizontal. Evacuation orders had been issued hours ago, but Marcus Chen, a 47-year-old fisherman, had stayed behind to secure his boat and his modest beach house. Marcus had weathered storms before. He knew the sea, respected its power, but never feared it. He'd lived in Seabrook his entire life, just like his father and grandfather before him. The ocean was in his blood. As the storm intensified, Marcus made one final check of his property. Rain lashed against his face like needles, and the wind nearly knocked him off his feet. That's when he heard it, a sound that didn't belong to the storm. A child's cry, faint but unmistakable, cutting through the chaos. Marcus's heart seized. No child should be out here. No one should be out here. He grabbed his flashlight and fought his way toward the sound, his boots sinking into the sand with each step. The beam of light swept across the beach until it landed on a small figure huddled against a piece of driftwood. A boy, no more than 7 years old, soaking wet and trembling violently. Without hesitation, Marcus scooped the child into his arms and ran back to his house. The boy was hypothermic, his lips blue, his eyes unfocused. Marcus wrapped him in blankets, started a fire, and tried to get him to speak, but the child said nothing. He just stared at Marcus with dark, ancient-looking eyes that seemed far too old for his young face. For hours, Marcus tended to the boy as the hurricane raged outside. He gave him warm soup, dry clothes, and a safe place to rest. The child never spoke, never told him his name or where he came from. Marcus assumed he was in shock, traumatized by whatever ordeal had brought him to that beach. As the storm finally began to subside in the early morning hours, Marcus decided he would take the boy to the authorities as soon as it was safe. The child had finally fallen asleep on the couch, and Marcus dozed off in his chair, exhausted from the long night. He woke to the sound of knocking, not violent pounding, but rhythmic, deliberate knocking. Marcus checked his watch. 3 a.m. The storm had passed, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. When he opened the door, his blood turned to ice. Standing before him were hundreds of men, stretching as far as he could see down the beach road. But these weren't ordinary men. They wore what appeared to be ancient armor, leather and metal pieces that looked like they belonged in a museum. Their faces were painted with intricate designs, and each one carried weapons, spears, swords, and shields that gleamed in the moonlight. Marcus's mind reeled. Was he dreaming? Had he hit his head during the storm? This was impossible, absolutely impossible. The man at the front of this otherworldly army stepped forward. He was tall, powerfully built, with grey streaking through his long dark hair. He placed his right fist over his heart and bowed his head. When he spoke, his voice was deep and filled with an emotion Marcus couldn't quite place. Gratitude, relief, reverence. You saved him, the man said simply. You saved our prince. Marcus stood there, his mouth hanging open, unable to form words. Prince, warriors, what was happening? The man continued, I am General Takoda. We have been searching for 3 days. The young prince was caught in the storm during a sacred ritual. We thought we had lost him, but you, Marcus Chen, you risked your own life to save his. Somehow this stranger knew his name. Marcus finally found his voice. I don't understand. Who are you people? Where did you come from? This doesn't make any sense. The general's expression softened. There are things in this world that exist beyond understanding, beyond what your people remember. We are the guardians of the coastal nations, descendants of tribes that once ruled these shores long before history was written in your books. We exist between your world and the old ways, protecting sacred sites and ancient knowledge. Marcus shook his head. This is crazy. You can't just appear with 400 armed men in North Carolina. We mean you no harm, General Dakota interrupted gently. Quite the opposite. You have shown honor and compassion when you could have turned away. You saw a child in danger and acted without thought for yourself. This is the mark of a true warrior, though you carry no weapon. Behind the general, the 400 warriors stood in perfect silence, the only sound being the gentle crash of waves and the occasional clink of metal. We have come to offer you our protection and our gratitude, the general continued. From this night forward, you are under the guard of the coastal nations. Should you ever need us, we will come. This is our sacred oath. Marcus glanced back at the sleeping child on his couch, then back at the impossible scene before him. Will he be okay? The boy? For the first time, the general smiled. Thanks to you, yes. He is the heir to our people, and you have ensured our future. What happened next, Marcus would remember for the rest of his life. Each warrior, all 400 of them, placed their fists over their hearts and bowed. Then one by one they began to fade, not dramatically or suddenly, but like morning mist burning away in sunlight. Within minutes they were gone, as if they had never existed at all. Marcus rubbed his eyes and stepped outside. The beach was empty. No footprints, no evidence of the gathering. Even the boy inside had vanished, leaving only the neatly folded blanket where he had slept. On his doorstep, Marcus found a single object, an intricately carved stone pendant on a leather cord. The carving depicted a child's hand held within a larger hand, surrounded by ancient symbols he couldn't read. Marcus Chen still lives in Seabrook. He wears the pendant every day and has never spoken publicly about that night until recently, when he shared his story with a local historian who documented oral traditions. The pendant was examined by archaeologists who confirmed the symbols are genuine Native American markings, but from a dialect that supposedly died out over 1,000 years ago. Marcus says he sometimes feels watched, protected by something he can't see. Twice since that night he's been in situations where he should have been seriously injured, a boating accident, a car crash, but walked away without a scratch. Each time, he swears he heard the sound of distant drums and felt an inexplicable sense of safety. Is it possible that ancient guardians still walk among us, protecting sacred knowledge and honoring those who show true compassion? Did Marcus Chen really encounter 400 warriors from a world that exists parallel to our own? Or was it all a dream, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion and the trauma of the storm? Marcus has his answer. What's yours? Thanks for watching Whisper of the Past. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales from history's shadows. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep listening to the whispers.